Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, and now here I am to complete my reviews for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. And now here I am to finish off Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy with a review for The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies. So, yeah, this is once again, this film it is a pretty good film overall, yeah. People really were like kind of like the most mixed on this film than they were the other two. I mean, there were people that were kind of like saying that this film really was like the weakest one of the trilogy, and I guess I could see why they would feel that way because like I was talking about with the Desolation of Smug, like I don't know really like how much like the actual book is like includes like that part of the story in it, and this is the same way. I really, like I said, I haven't read the Hobbit book, so I really don't know like how much of this story is actually included in the uh, book. Yeah, I don't know like how much of this part of the story is like on the book, but yeah, like I was saying, back when I reviewed like the animated film, like the animated film really didn't have like that much of this part of the story he featured in that film. So yeah, so this film, this really is like including like a definitely like a whole lot more to this part than the animated film did, just like Desolation of Smog and even like Unexpected Journey. So yeah, but yeah, for what they do have, I think that it is like told pretty well once again. I mean, of course, like this film does have its like it does have problems, of course. I mean, yeah, I think, like I was talking about before, like one of the major criticisms that these movies get is how they're like really overloaded with CGI, and I really think that this film really is like the big one that people really talk about because I mean, yeah, this film is just like totally filled with CGI, and a lot of the CGI in this film really does just look like it is like from a video game rather than like an actual film. So yeah, that is one of the things that this film really has that I think people have a right to really criticize about. And yeah, yeah, I mean yeah, just like seems like if just the CGI really just really does not look very well in this film. And yeah, I mean yeah, just like we do have like the battle scenes in them, it just really looks like we're watching stuff from a video game rather than actually watching a film. So yeah, that they really do like look pretty choppy in this film. And but yeah, this film like it does do a good job at really like finishing off the story. I mean, it really does like give kind of like the same feel that the Lord of the Rings films had. I mean, we do see like some main characters being killed off in this film, and yeah, and it does like kind of like I do think that the ending of this film is like a really good ending, like a really good way to bookend it, which I will talk about once I do reach the end of this film. And yeah, and I do like how this film it kind of does like show some things that really do like bleed into Lord of the Rings. Like in this film, it does show how Bilbo actually getting the mithril vest that was like this steel silver vest that he ended up giving to Frodo. So yeah, I do like that. This actually does show how the vest actually came into Bilbo's possession. And yeah, and at the very beginning of this film, like it does like just show like the final part of the story with Smog, and yeah, in the very beginning of this film, Smog does end up being killed. So yeah, I really do wonder like why they actually bothered to actually just have that be included in this film when they could have just like had that like just be included at the very end, Desolation of Smog, where they actually do like continue on with this the film, like pretty much have like the opening part of this film really be like included in the ending of Desolation of Smog, where like after like where the part Desolation of Smog actually do ends, they can actually continue on with that and include the opening scene of this film in that, and then have them kill off Smog in that, and then after the stuff with Smog, then have it like have then this film start off. So yeah, so that's one of my problems with it. Just like why do they even bother like just having Smog being included, like, after seeing him, like, flee off at the end of Desolation of Smog, if they were just going to kill him off at the very beginning of this film. So, yeah, that's something, I guess, that is one of the film's flaws as well. But, yeah, it still is overall a good film. And, yeah, you still have, like, just the ensemble cast still returning. And, yeah, they all do pretty good once again. And, yeah, it does, like, once again, like, we do see, like, Saruman, Galadriel, and Elrond reappear in this film. Yeah, they weren't in Desolation of Smog, but yeah, they finally do reappear in this film again. And yeah, so it's good to see them, of course. And yeah, of course, like Gandalf is back, and Bilbo, and yeah, just all that. So yeah, the entire cast, well, yeah, the ensemble cast is still back, and yeah, they all do like really well. And yeah, and I guess like for what Peter Jackson really had to work with the remaining part of the story, he did like do, I think, once again as well as he could to really like try to do the same thing with Lord of the Rings as he did. Well, yeah, it's the same thing as he did in Lord of the Rings with these films, and so yeah, and yeah, this film is like relatively shorter than the other two films. I mean, the other two films had about like a 3 hour length, a little bit shorter than that. But yeah, this is cut down to like just about like a 2.5 hour film. So yeah, at least like Peter Jackson didn't really like try to like really like stretch it out as much. And yeah, he really just like really kept it like relatively shorter and really just like did as much as he could. So yeah, he did do well enough. And yeah, he probably did, like I said, the best job he could with this. So yeah, I would probably say overall, this is probably like the weakest film in the Hobbit trilogy, but it is still a really good film. I would give it probably, I don't know, 3.25 stars out of 4. Or, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, probably since it is like a relatively shorter film, but yeah, considering what Peter Jackson had left of the story to tell, it was probably like as lengthy as he could have gotten it. So yeah, I'm not going to complain about that. But yeah, still just yeah, good film overall. And I really and yeah, I think it is like does like conclude this story like pretty well. All right, so yeah, let me just get right into it. All right, so like I said, the movie opens up basically like right where Desolation of Smog left off, and it shows Smog then just like a burning down, trying to burn up Lake Town, and then yeah, Bard ended up then breaking out of his prison, and then like as he was like firing off arrows at the Smog, he then did eventually kill Smog with a black arrow that his son Bane had brought to him. Yeah, and then as Smog was falling to his death, then he just ended up like crushing the master of Lake Town along with his cronies who were actually fleeing from Lake Town on a boat with like the town's gold, and then the town then really just did crown Bard as their new leader, and Bard was like reluctant to it, but he still ended up like being named the leader of the people of Lake Town, and yeah, they just were like trying to find some refugee in the ruins of Dale, and then yeah, Thorin showed that as he was now struck with like the dragon sickness, as they referred to it, that over the treasure on the mountain, he was just like searching for the Arkenstone, which Bilbo actually did find before, but he like kept it hidden. And then yeah, Thorin then just after he heard that the Lake Town survivors had fled to Dale, he then just ordered like the entrance of the Lonely Mountain to be sealed off. Yeah, and then yeah, it showed like Gandalf still ended up like being held captive, and after his capture in the previous film, but then Galadriel, Elrond, and Saruman arrived at Dol Guldur, and yeah, they ended up setting him free, and then yeah, they just then sent him to safety with a Radagast, and then they did battle with the Nazgul and eventually defeated the Nazgul, which was then like shown that they like ended up winning, and also as well as like Sauron, who was like just really in no sort of actual form. So yeah, and then yeah, the both of them were then just banished off to the east, and then yeah, Azog and like the with his orc army then just marched up to Erebor, and then Azog and then just sent his son Bolg to Ganabat to summon like the other army that they have, and then yeah, Legolas and Toriel like saw the army march, and then they just and they were just like bolstered by orc berserkers and giant bats, and then meanwhile then Thranduil and the an elf army that he had ended up arriving in Dale, and then they formed an alliance with Bard and his peoples to reclaim their treasure that was withheld from them by a Thror. And then Bard went into the mountain and asked Thorin if he would just share the gold that he actually did promise to the people of Lake Town before, but Thorin ended up refusing to do it. And Gandalf eventually then ended up arriving at a Dale to warn Bard and Thranduil of like Azog's threat, but yeah, Thranduil just ended up dismissing Gandalf. But eventually, Bilbo ended up just sneaking over to find the Arkenstone, and then just hand it over to Thranduil and Bard, or in order for them to like trade it for their treasures, and just try to prevent any sort of battle from happening. But yeah, as like the armies were like gathering at the gates of Erebor, they were offering to trade the Arkansas for the promised treasure, but yeah, Thorin just like was just not happy with that Bilbo did this, and so then and yeah, after Bilbo admitted that he gave them the Arkenstone, Thorin then was like about to really kill Bilbo, but then Gandalf then just like arrived, and he just ended up like shaming Thorin into just releasing Bilbo, and then eventually Daon, is that how it's said? Thorin's cousin ended up arriving with his own dwarf army, and then yeah, the dwarves then just like battled the elves and men, and then eventually like there were some wereworms that ended up like emerging from the ground, and then Azog's army of orcs then were like being released from the tunnels, and then the orcs were just like totally outnumbered uh Dahn's army, and then Thranduil and Brad's forces also ended up like being outnumbered, and then yeah, Gandalf and Bilbo oh oh also like ended up like joining the battle with them, and so then eventually then it showed then like there was a second front open when like it showed orcs, ogres, and trolls. There were like a bunch of them ended up attacking Dale all as well, and then it just like ended up of having Brad's forces just ended up like being forced to withdraw from the sub battle in order to defend their city, and then like Thorin eventually like ended up like suffering some real traumatic hallucinations inside Erebor, but he eventually did end up regaining his sanity, and he then just ended up leading his army, his group to join the battle, and then he then like just ended up like leaving towards Ravenhill with Dwalin, Feely, and Keely in order to kill Azog. But yeah, Bilbo also, with the use of his ring, turning him visible, he like followed them to Ravenhill, and then it showed that Toriel and Legolas also arrived to try to warn the dwarfs of Bolg's approaching army, but and then eventually Feely ended up like being captured and killed by Azog, and eventually Thorin and Azog ended up like right, dueling also, and eventually a Bilbo ended up being knocked unconscious by a Bolg, and then Toriel ended up being overpowered by Bolg, and Keely then ended up being killed after Keely came to Toriel's aid, and Legolas was also doing battle with Bolg and eventually ended up killing him. Legolas killed Bolg. Yeah. And during the battle with Thor- Thorin and Azog, like Azog ended up like mortally, fatally, wounding Thorin, but Thorin did manage to kill Azog in the process. Yeah. And eventually, yeah, the Great Eagles then just ended up arriving and with Radagast and Bjorn, and they were able to fight off the Orc army and eventually defeating them finally. Yeah. And once Bilbo like came around again, he then just made peace with Thorin before he died, similar to what happened in Fellowship of the Ring with uh, Aragorn and uh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was similar to what happened in Fellowship of the Ring when in uh, Aragorn was able to make peace with oh, what was his name? Boromir. That's it. Yeah, as Boromir was dying, how Aragorn did make a peace with Boromir before he died. Yeah, same thing happened here with Bilbo and Thor, and then yeah, eventually Toriel and yeah, it showed how Toriel was also mourning over Keely, and yeah, Theron Duel like was just then acknowledging the love that they had for each other, and then yeah, Legolas has then like convinced Theron Duel to leave, and then well, yeah, Theron Duel then just advised him to seek out a Duundane Ranger in the north who goes by the name of Strider, which of course was Aragorn. Yeah. And then, yeah, eventually then Bilbo then just bid farewell to the rest of the group, and then just Gandalf and Bilbo then just has journeyed back to the Shire, and then now Bilbo ended up saying goodbye to Gandalf, but before he actually left, Gandalf like revealed to Bilbo that knew who he knows that Bilbo has the ring, and then just warned him that magic rings are not to be used lightly. And then yeah, they then parted their ways, and yeah, it then showed as Bilbo was returning to his home, it showed that like Bilbo was presumed dead since he hadn't been seen for over a year. And yeah, like his belongings were like sent off for auction, but yeah, Bilbo ended up just like canceling the sales for all of his stuff, and then it just showed like his home just ended up like being pillaged. Yeah. Yeah, it then just showed then Bilbo was just then tidying his home back up and settling back into his home. And then yeah, and then the film ended with it just like cutting back to like right like at this where Fellowship of the Ring had started off, where yeah, it showed then the scene where Gandalf arrived at Bilbo's home for his 111th birthday, and it actually did show it like from a Bilbo's point of view inside his home with Gandalf knocking on the door and just saying he was there, and then yeah, Bilbo, yeah, then just like showed that, and then yeah, it then just zoomed on the map of their journey, and then it just and the credits then rolled, just showing the map. So yeah, I thought that was a good way to bookend it, like showing that really like this was like the first time that Bilbo had actually seen Gandalf since like their journey here. So yeah, I thought it was a good way to bookend it like that. So yeah, I really did like how they did it like that. But yeah, but anyway, yeah. So this once again, this is like a pretty good movie overall. 3.25 stars out of 4, as I said. I mean, probably like the weakest one of the trilogy, and yeah, it definitely has its flaws, like the overuse of the CGI and stuff. And yeah, like I've said before, how it really does have a lot of these films really do have just a lot of characters and stuff. I think it's things like this that really make this a trilogy not really on par with Lord of the Rings, but people really should like stop trying to really compare these films to the Lord of the Rings films and just kind of see that these films are like really like while they are in the same world as Lord of the Rings, they really are like a totally different story and a different time period from the Lord of the Rings films. So people really should like see these films not really as the Lord of the Rings, but as the Hobbit films because that's what they are, not Lord of the Rings. But yeah, this is still like a good film overall, and yeah, these films really are like still like good films as their own things. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I was saying before, I like people I think are can be like really like hard on these films because people have really said that they were really underwhelmed by these films, especially like seeing them as follow-ups to the Lord of the Rings films. But yeah, people like I was just saying, people really do need to see the see that these films are really like a totally different story, and they should just judge them as that rather than how they are as follow-ups to Lord of the Rings films. And yeah, like I said, just like this with the book like being like a relatively short film, and Peter Jackson like just telling the story like in the same fashion as the Lord of the Rings movies, like having it and like being like extend to like about like 3 hour films once again. Like while it is like really stretched out like that, I mean, Peter Jackson really did like the best job he could with really trying to tell the story the same way as he did Lord of the Rings. So yeah, and these films really did turn out being a success overall. I mean, not masterpieces or anything, but good, enjoyable films. So yeah, people should really like give these films better chances than they have. So yeah, but anyway, alright, so yeah, that does it for my review of The Hobbit, The Battle of Five Armies, and yeah, that does it for my reviews of this month with the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy these reviews throughout the month. I mean, yeah, like I said, like, the three animated films really are just like, they're really not on par with either of Peter Jackson's trilogies, but yeah, the animated films, like, if you're looking for like a more like family-oriented take on the these stories, because that's more of what the animated films have. But yeah, don't really be looking for something that's really on par with the way Peter Jackson tells both of these stories. So yeah, the Peter Jackson ones really are the superior films, and with both Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So yeah, Peter Jackson really just he tells the story the best. So yeah, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed these reviews throughout the month, and yeah, so stay tuned throughout for more stuff coming through the month of June and for the rest of the and onwards. Yeah, I still got more stuff coming ahead for the next month on Slan. So yeah, I still got more stuff coming your way. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy these reviews throughout the month. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.